Don't worry guys, I'm not dropping out. I just really have the urge to do so sometimes. I have been involved in quite a few side hustles, especially when it comes to UI UX design, and I found that having the title of a student does hinder me from being able to do more for obvious reasons, right? Because of experience, because of my needs, and a whole bunch of other things. But nonetheless, I believe there's value in university. The value may not be in the academic technical skills themselves, but I think there's a lot of value when it comes to soft skills, communication, being able to articulate your thoughts, being able to write well, and all of that. University is not for the technical skills, it's more for a lot of the soft skills that will prepare you for work in the future. Wow, what an introduction. I really wanted to just jump right into the video, didn't want to bore you guys with an introduction, but I think it is necessary. Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm a year 2 going to year 3 NUS student. I study communications and new media. I take a minor in interactive media development, so that's where I learn things like UI UX design, barely, because I feel like a lot of things are still self-taught. Here are the modules that I took this semester. So I did take more technical mods, but a lot of very theoretical mods as well, which I didn't enjoy as much. I'll talk a bit more about what I learned academically at the end of this video, but for now I'm going to talk more about the practical things and life lessons that I learned from my second year at uni, which was vastly different from my first year. I feel like in my second year it was a lot more experimental. I grew a lot mentally and emotionally in my second year. I think it was a year where I met some really amazing people, and it was a year where I learned a lot more about myself as well. So one thing I learned is that stress and managing stress is kind of like stretching a rubber band. You can stretch, you can learn to be able to take on more things. It's definitely something you can grow in. It's kind of like a muscle, but like a rubber band, each of us has our limits, and you don't want to get to a point where you snap. So thankfully I did not get to a point where I snapped, but I came really close, and that was a period where I was so sad and I really wanted to drop everything. It's one of those times when I did want to drop out, and there were multiple moments, but I was just taking on too many things and I was really struggling. But the reason why I say stress is like a rubber band, or handling stress is like tugging on a rubber band, is because I did adapt to the amount of stress that I was facing, and it became a lot easier as time went by. And I think for my busy period last semester, I've been able to reach a point now during summer where I am rather comfortable with taking on more things, so that's a good thing. But I do want to be very wary of my limits. So that was one thing that I learned in my second year. On the topic of taking on a lot of things, I think I realized that being able to handle multiple modules in school has equipped me with a lot of multitasking skills when it comes to handling different tasks that I have right now. So you know how in school you have multiple projects to work on, you have this thing from this teacher, you have this thing from this prof, different assignments and essays to do simultaneously, and I think that has given me the ability to kind of compartmentalize when it comes to the different work that I have to do. So that is a really interesting perspective that I took on recently. I think that's a skill that a lot of us uni students probably have acquired without even knowing, so it's pretty cool. The next thing that I learned is that in year 2, I think it's the best time to try new things, because if you think about it, your first year, you're kind of unsure, you're new to uni, you're trying to figure out your friends, you're trying to figure out your modules, you're trying to figure out your interests, and it's just a lot of exploration. But now that you're in year 2, you're more settled in, and you probably have a good group of friends, a good support system, and it's time to really dip your toes into a bunch of different things to figure out what you want to do after uni or even during uni. And year 3 and year 4 are pretty busy, so I don't think it's the best time to really try new things then, because there's probably compulsory internship or exchange programs in year 3 and year 4 where you're trying to clear things already. So I think year 2 is really the best time to try new things. If there's a CCA you want to try out, or a sport, or a new hobby, or a new skill that you want to pick up, I think year 2 is the best time. And I'm so glad that I took on a lot of different things and tried a bunch of new things in my second year, and I'm still continuing to try new things now that I'm at home. Things like making coffee, things like playing the cello again, which I'll be talking more about in the future as well. But yeah, I think year 2 is really the best time to try new things. Another thing about year 2 is really utilize this time to prepare for an internship or to just go for internships. I think internships are really helpful. You can only learn so much from school or even just looking at resources online. I think there's a lot of value in getting real world experiences. Like even in interviews, they always ask you, you know, what experience do you have? Was this like a school project or was it like a real life client and project and things like that? So I think there's a lot of value in just getting out there and applying for internships. And the last life lesson that I learned in my second year is to invest in relationships. I think last semester I made the mistake of not really spending a lot of time with friends, and honestly I've compromised a lot of my self-care as well. I used to be a huge advocate for self-care and I totally neglected that, and I didn't want to be a hypocrite and advocate self-care when I wasn't doing it for myself. So there was a huge cut down in the amount of self-care content. It became a lot of like hustling, which will probably continue to be the case, but I'm trying to find a balance. I think a huge part of that balance is being able to have great friends around you, to have that support system. I'm trying to invest more in my friendships right now and to meet up with them. We have a meetup coming up soon when results come out, so invest in friendships. That is about it for the life lessons I learned in year 2. I think it's mostly a lot of career related things, a lot of growth, a lot of self-discovery, because like I said, year 2 is really the best time to try new things. So I did go ahead and try a lot of new things. But when it comes to the academic things I learned, so I took 2 CAPT mods. I think I can talk about those 2 first. I really enjoyed identities in Asia. Me and my friend, we did a presentation on digital identities and I got to talk about NFTs. It was cool just knowing that my hours and time that I put into learning more about Web3 did pay off during that presentation. So if you are in CAPT or if you're going to CAPT, I highly recommend Identities in Asia. It was a really fun mod. As for Understanding Communities, I think it was a very meaningful module, but I didn't put as much time into it, I think because of how busy I was with the other modules. Busy modules like CS3 to 40, oh my gosh, interaction design. It was very enjoyable given that it's precisely what I enjoy doing and precisely what I want to do in the future, right? Interaction design, UI UX design. So my group project was to do a navigation app for NUS. Honestly, looking back, I think it was such a waste. I think if we did a more industrial project or something related to a real world problem outside, it would have been an excellent piece to add to our portfolios. But nonetheless, I think this was a very useful application as well, and it was fun to do. And it was relatively easy to do user research because we are NUS students ourselves and we're surrounded by NUS students. As for the individual project, I just did a dashboard for social media influencers. And for the more theoretical module, NM2104, it's just one of the core modules for CNM. I'll probably do a video about CNM modules specifically in the future when I've taken more. Maybe I'll do like a tier list or talk a bit more about each one. But this module was it just had to be done. My group was hilarious. I think the girls are just so empowering and powerful. It was really, really funny. It was a lot of writing, a lot of presentations and communication, obviously. And lastly, EN 1101E, it was tough. Like honestly, my favorite genre of books is nonfiction. So when it comes to reading fiction, like I had to do in this mod, I think I was a bit lost. We read The Great Gatsby, which I did visit a long time ago, but it was nice reading it again. But that's the thing, like I read for leisure. I enjoy reading, I can enjoy a book, but to really dissect it and analyze it, it's something that I have to work on a bit more. We also read Coetzee's Disgrace, which was very, very intense. And lastly, Waiting for Godot. That was really interesting as well. So yeah, those were the books. And I think this mod might be the one I have to SU. It's either this one or the Understanding Communities one. I'll probably update you guys on my results when it does come out. Maybe, if you guys are curious. But I guess that's all for this quick video. I just really wanted to talk a bit more about wanting to drop out because it was a very real feeling. Like, I know Dargoyaki made a video about dropping out, but it was actually an April Fool's joke, which was so smart. My gosh, look at this content strategist. And I think my reasons to drop out, if I did, would be very similar to his reasons with what I want to do in the future. None of the employees have asked for my GPA. Honestly, like I would just send in my resume without the GPA and I would hear back sometimes. For the UI UX projects, for example, anything freelance, anything video editing related, I mean, grades really don't matter in this industry, which I'm very thankful for, because worrying about grades while working on other things outside of school would be very, very stressful. So sometimes people ask me, right, like, how do you manage your time? How do you manage to balance work with school, with YouTube, with other things? It's because I had the ability to sacrifice a bit of my schoolwork. I mean, I do put in effort. Dad, Mom, don't worry. But I do put a priority on things that I know are going to be a lot more long-lasting, things that are definitely going to propel me a lot more than a 0.01 increase in my GPA. So I just made decisions accordingly. Anyway, before I ramble on too much, I guess that's all for this video. This summer, I have a lot of things that's going on, and I hope to vlog it more. I've been so busy, but like I said, I'm trying to balance self-care with the hustling. So hope you guys stay tuned for a lot more side hustle content, a lot more self-care content as well, like with the coffee making and things. I guess that's all for this video. I pray that you stay safe, happy, and healthy wherever you are. Bye!